the migrants issue here and the centre's response. A couple of figures that have been reiterated by the centre. Solicitor General there saying that Railways has operated 4,228 trains so far. They have ferried 1 crore migrants back home. This is split between road services that have been provided and train services. Our correspondent Tanima is getting us further details here on further course of action, because there's still several migrants who are waiting to go back home, even as we're looking at 1 week down the line of unlock phase 1. Tanima, please go ahead with those inputs. Ongoing hearing in the Supreme Court and what the central government reiterates further on this.
That's right. Very important observations which are coming in from the Supreme Court right now, Sahir, as you were mentioning. In fact, if I can bring up the latest observations which have come in from the Supreme Court, essentially saying that the Supreme Court bench, which is taking up the issue in continuation to its earlier hearing, is essentially saying that now states and the centre will be given 15 days time to transport all migrants. The states will also have to give some sort of a plan, submit some sort of a plan in front of the Supreme Court, which will show how they are going to provide employment and relief to migrants who are returning to the states. Remember, amid the lockdown, most of these migrants, in fact, a larger section of these migrants are actually returning to their home states because they have no job or any means of earning a livelihood in the city that they were working in, which is why they've headed back. But what is the plan of action now as to what is going to happen with these people who have returned to their home states? So do the states have an SOP or a plan in mind as to how they're going to provide employment and relief to these migrants who are returning to the home state? That is one thing that the Supreme Court has highlighted to the Solicitor General just a short while back, essentially saying that they want both the centre as well as the state to give a plan as to how employment is going to be provided to the labourers who are returning, and the state will be given 15 days time to transport all migrants back to their hometown. And the Supreme Court has also added that there should be registration of the migrants, that there should be a proper registration process followed for the migrants so that there is a record as to how many of them are actually returning to their hometown.
Yes, registration is a big problem, Tanima, as we're getting in these inputs in the ongoing hearing. Representative for the Migrants Association, they're saying that the registration system, which is not working on ground, which is what makes it all the more difficult to track the movement of migrants, to track if they've gone back home. And if this is a registration problem that persists, this would then further again cause a problem in tracking whether or not they're getting jobs, they're getting employment back home.
That's right. In fact, Sir, as you said, that earlier also, in fact, our own reporters have reported on ground about the fact that there is no proper registration being done in several of these cities, especially in Mumbai, in which a lot of these migrants have been returning, have been going back to their home states. So picking up on that, last time also during the order, we had seen the Supreme Court clearly telling the states that there should be proper registration process, and even reiterating that today as well, saying that there should be registration of migrants, that should not be a procedure which is skipped or in any way neglected by the states. And as you rightly mentioned, Colin Gonzalez, who is representing the Migrants Association in the top court, essentially saying that the registration system is not working, which has actually, in a way, amplified the crisis that the migrants are facing, and which is also a reason why half the number of migrant workers are not even being able to get back home, because there is no process being followed in terms of them being ferried back. And the High Court have also made an observation on the registration system. That is also another thing that Counsel Colin Gonzalez has in fact mentioned in front of the top court. So the Supreme Court is, of course, looking at a solution and asked both the Migrants Association Council as well as the centre in order to come up with a way in which there could be this problem can be fixed of registration. And the Solicitor General has also asked for interveners to not be heard at this point in time. So that is another development which is taking place. as we're mentioning all this, these are all developments taking place in the top court. So this is, of course, a developing hearing which is taking place in the apex court. But essentially, the point being, the Supreme Court is taking stock of the situation from the time of its last order, what has been the progress made by the center and states as far as the migrants issue is concerned, and some of these teething problems which still remain in terms of ferrying the migrants back to their hometowns, and also which seems to be facing a lot of hurdles, especially in terms of some of these bureaucratic processes like registration, which needs to be followed.
That's right. Several weeks down the line of Shramik services having started, we're still looking at teething problems on this. Ongoing hearing in the Supreme Court. We'll continue keeping track of those inputs. Tanima, thank you for getting us those details so far.